All right, take two. Welcome to Critical Weight Theory. And today in this episode, I want to talk, at least tangentially, about two classic stories almost everyone knows about: Cinderella and Aladdin. On the surface, they look very different. Different settings, different cultures, different kinds of magic, even. But when you put them side by side, something interesting shows up. Their similarities tell us a lot about why people love these stories and why we're drawn to escaping into fictional worlds in the first place. And from there, we'll zoom out and talk about something bigger: escapism, shared human experience, and why meeting in the middle matters more than we think. So, like I said, let's look first a little bit at the generalities between Cinderella and Aladdin. Let's start with the basics. Both Cinderella and Aladdin begin their stories poor. Cinderella lives in a large house, but she's treated like a servant. She cleans, cooks, and sleeps in the shadows while others control her life. Aladdin, on the other hand, lives on the streets. He steals food to survive and has no real home at all. Different situations, same feeling. Both characters are stuck in lives they did not choose, with very little power to change things. Another big similarity is that both dream of something better. Cinderella dreams of a life where she's seen, valued, and loved. Very relatable, right? Aladdin dreams of respect, freedom, and a chance to be more than what the world tells him he is. Also, quite relatable. True love becomes part of that dream for both of them, but it's really also about escape: escape from limitation, escape from being invisible. That's where these stories start to connect to real life and why people escape reality in the first place. People escape reality for very ordinary human reasons. It's not always about avoiding life completely or anything like that. It's not always about just completely tuning out. Most of the time, it's about coping. One major reason is stress. When daily life feels overwhelming, the mind looks for rest. That rest can come through daydreaming, books, movies, games, or imagination. Stepping into another world gives the brain a break. It lowers pressure, it creates some breathing room. That's not weakness, at least generally speaking, it's a survival skill. Another reason people escape is emotional safety. Real life comes with rejection, conflict, disappointment, and loss, among other things. In a personal inner world, people have more control, at least momentarily. They can feel accepted, they can feel capable, they can feel understood. Just like Cinderella at the ball or Aladdin as Prince Ali, escapism lets people try on a version of themselves that feels possible, even if only for a moment. And the key is balance. Escaping occasionally can help people recover. Escaping constantly, well, that can become a bit of a problem. So, there's an interesting dynamic that I hinted at earlier, which is understanding without shared culture. You can have similar aspects between two different cultures that really overcome significant differences, making those differences maybe not as significant after all. That's something important, and it's one of the reasons why multiculturalism as a general premise is actually worth defending. For one thing, it makes life more interesting. It gives us more content to be aware of, and it broadens knowledge of history and language and of course music and the arts. Basically, a lot of great stuff, like food also. But it just wouldn't be the same if we were not multicultural. And Cinderella and Aladdin come from very different cultural backgrounds, yet people all over the world understand them. Why? Because people don't need identical experiences to connect. They need shared human ground. Things like wanting freedom, wanting dignity, wanting love, wanting to be seen. When people are willing to listen and meet in the middle, understanding becomes possible even across huge cultural differences. And that's why stories like this, I think they're significant. And part of that is the middle ground. So, what is the middle ground? What am I talking about here? Well, the middle ground is a position between extremes. It doesn't mean giving up your beliefs, it means taking pieces from different sides and finding something workable, something human. People like the middle ground because it reduces conflict, at least if it's done right. It reminds us that most things aren't all good or all bad. Escapism isn't entirely healthy or unhealthy. For example, fantasy isn't always meaningless or unrealistic, even if fantasy might contain magic in the story. You can still draw some real life conclusions. Stories like Cinderella and Aladdin aren't just fairy tales, they're reflections of emotional needs that are very real. So, when we look closely, these stories aren't just about magic lamps or glass slippers, although they do have those elements. They're about people trying to survive, imagining better futures, and feeling less alone. And maybe that's why we keep returning to these sorts of stories, not to escape life forever, but to rest, reflect, and come back with a little more hope and well, that's about it for this episode. I hope uh, I hope you thought I had some food for thought. I certainly think I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered recording the words that I wrote down. So yeah, I'll keep on producing some more content like this. I like the idea of showing why these so-called distractions in people's lives, well, they're not unnecessary. They give people a chance to, I guess, make sense of the world, and they're actually not only timeless tales, but timely tales as well, in a sense. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed it, and you have a fantastical day.